Namaste, everyone. I'm Stephen Sadler, the director of the Self-Awareness Institute, devotee and apprentice of Yogiraj Vettatiri Maharishi. And to honor him, Peace Day TV and the Self-Awareness Institute are creating this series of 12 lectures, a course that Swamiji would give each year on Simplified Kundalini Yoga, or SKY. We like to think of it as the science of Kundalini Yoga because Swamiji was very scientific and he explained the nature of the self, the nature of the universe, the purpose of life, and how we can integrate with that life purpose and ultimately find fulfillment, happiness, and peace. And it absolutely works. He trained thousands, perhaps tens or hundreds of thousands of people. With the Self-Awareness Institute, have been reaching tens of thousands of people, and there's other teachers now all beginning to bring this light into the world, an understanding of this Swamiji's simplified form of Kundalini Yoga, the science of the self. And so today we'll be going to lecture number 4, which he calls the analysis of thought. So we're going to look into our own mind, kind of building upon the last lecture, which really focused on the philosophy of yoga and making the distinctions between the mind, the will, and the consciousness, and understanding the role of each in our life and how to connect with these other aspects of our own being, this higher nature that we have, and evolve ourselves to realize our full potential, to realize ourselves. In other words, to become self-realized, to become enlightened. And who better to teach us than Swamiji, from an ancient lineage of proven techniques, have worked around the world for thousands of years. So I want to invite you into this class and into this present moment. Let's step out of our day, step out of our mind, step out of what was or will be, and be fully present in this moment, present to that divine presence that is alive within you. And in recognition of that instinct or intuition or subtle essence, perhaps innate intelligence that is guiding you. What brought you to be listening to me? We all draw our life from the same source, and the same volition that guided me to be here guided you to be here. We see that there is, in fact, a greater guiding force, an invisible hand that is guiding all people, all life throughout the planet and the universe. And so a big part of simplified Kundalini Yoga is really just plugging in to that innate intelligence, plugging into that life force, or Kundalini, the Shakti itself. That which animates you is you. And so without it, you'd be dead. So by definition, we are that which is being expressed through the body and mind. And even that expression is of consciousness. So there's a consciousness within us, a consciousness around us, and we're really not separate from it. This is what we're making union with. This is our yoga, this integration of not only our spiritual awareness with the spirit within us and around us, between all of us and each other as humanity, and also this integration of these teachings into a householder's lifestyle. We can't all fly off and live in a cave in India or the Himalayas. And so we have a beautiful series of lectures and meditation techniques that are very advanced and very powerful, but very simple to practice. So I want to invite you to step into this potential so we can realize, let's make this next hour meaningful by holding that space in our mind to recognize or call upon a higher power, call the divine, and just ask to let whatever it is that made the Big Bang boom, whatever created and sustains and directs the universe, created and sustains and directs us too. So let's tap into that as we breathe in. And I want to give you a space in your mind to go when you meditate that'll make meditation much easier. And that if you can conjure a place that's very relaxing. So find a comfortable place to sit. And when you do the Kundalini meditations, you always want to sit up straight because your spine is an antenna. And first and foremost, we're going to be exchanging energy. Whether we're in the talking part of the course or the sitting and being still part, there's a transmission of energy through my eyes, through my voice, and we're all receivers and we're all conductors. We're all transmitting. And what we're going to be learning is how to exercise and develop and to grow this spiritual strength from within ourselves and to brighten that light within. So that light within, our own indwelling spirit, can guide us. And so if that feels good to you, I invite you to breathe in, find your comfortable place to sit, and then close your eyes and let's imagine that we're all stepping into a hot tub or a mineral bath or pool. Whatever's relaxing for you. Let's imagine we just stepped out of our minds, stepped out of our desires, stepped out of our resistance, our fear, stepped out of all the stuff going on in our head and just totally allowed ourselves to relax. So we're relieving ourselves of all these thoughts and concerns, just like we were dropping a garment. And now we're going to step into this hot, bubbling jacuzzi and just feel the bubbly sensation. So use your mind to invoke perhaps a memory you already have, or imagine a place where you can go, where you're immersing yourself and it's just complete quiet and peace. And the warmth of this water that we are floating in is soaking into the muscles, tendons, and bones. So it's really going into where all the tension is in your body. Just breathe in and just say, I'm open to receive. So we create the condition in our mind to be able to receive and open up, receive direction and love and guidance. And I always like to start by saying, Lord, help me to be a pure vehicle for your love and light and wisdom. Let us together intend to allow ourselves to be a vehicle to serve the highest and best good, to let the divine or God, by any name you call your creator, but to allow ourselves to align with that higher intention and purpose and being, and to let ourselves be guided to our own purpose and through God's will and for a higher purpose in life. So if that feels good to you, breathe in and just say, I'm open. I am open, for it's through grace that we're enlightened. And that's the beauty of having the guru, is just to pick up their energy, to pick up their peace and their love, and to entwine and enjoin and to yoga. It's to make union. So if you're trying to make union on your own, how does your mind know how to steer you? Most people don't know where to go in their meditation to get there, and you will evolve yourself meditating by any type of meditation. But the beauty of having the guidance of Swamiji and the path of the Tamil Siddhas is that we're connecting directly with the life force within us that is us. So as you sit there, I want to invite you to breathe in and just feel the energy in your nervous system, and feel it in your chi, feel it in the electromagnetic fields around your body, and now feel it flowing through you and me. So I want to begin with what I might call a soft meditation, a talking meditation, just to get you plugged in so you're feeling energy. And then later in the class, we'll close our eyes and go even deeper. And if you choose to close your eyes, that's fine. But for right now, I'd like you to look within yourself and ask yourself, who am I? Your search begins when you in earnest start asking yourself this question, who am I? So I know there's flesh. I know there's tissue. It's made up of cells that are made up of molecules, that are made up of atoms, that are made of energy particles. And even the protons are made up of up and down quarks that are made up of halions and gluons and all kinds of subatomic particles, as well as the electrons and the valence field around them, creating this positive and negative and this interaction between the two. The imprint is formed in the field that is created, and that imprint gives that system of organizing intelligence its character. And as one character, one system of organizing intelligence works together with another through their attractive and repulsive forces, like the positive and negative charges in an energy particle, like an electron being negative, a proton being positive, and an atom, which is configuration of those energy particles, has relative attractive and repulsive forces. So they create combinations like Legos, the game, the toys that children use to stick the plastic together to form an airplane or a house or a ship. In the same way, our atoms come together to form these building blocks of molecular structures that form the amino acids and proteins that form the components of our cells, the organelle. And these cells come together to form multi-celled components. Just like there might be multi-celled creatures, you have multi-celled components called a heart and a lung and a brain, all these parts work together to create a whole consciousness within yourself. But you too have a positive charge at the top of the head and a negative charge at the bottom of the tailbone. There's a field. And the way the energy runs through your imprints forms your character. You see? And we are a part of a greater system, which is the ecology, the Gaia, the Earth itself, the solar system, the galactic consciousness. There's even a universal intelligence. And so there are fields within fields within fields of consciousness operating, expressing the consciousness at different levels, but they're all interconnected and part of one whole. And we have no existence separate from our cells and our molecules and our atoms anymore than we have a life separate from other people, the planet, the sun, the galaxy, or the universe. So what we want to look at are how are these invisible forces guiding us, and when we align with them, we find that there's harmony within the whole of our being and in our life. So one of the tools that Swamiji gives us is analysis of thought. So I want you to sit back in the jacuzzi, and we're going to just observe our mind and see it for what it is today. Today is the day we're going to learn that we are not our mind, and the mind is the most wonderful device created for human beings. Well, arguably, but it's the one that brought us to be here in this moment. So I want you to breathe in and observe how all the things you've been learning from life, all your life experiences have been teaching you something about yourself and helping you to learn and grow and evolve. And now you've come to this point, this critical point in the evolution of your consciousness where you're now ready to realize who you are and why you were born, so you can fulfill the purpose of your existence. And you have some instinctive knowledge of this, and that's what's compelling you to listen to me. So you see, we've always got this inner inclination, this inner guidance, but we're not always listening to it, because sometimes the mind speaks so loudly we can't hear that inner voice. And so Swamiji has developed this technique, this analysis of thought, where we begin to really look at our minds from outside of ourself and see the mind for what it is. We gain more objectivity and develop a sense of discrimination over the mind, so we can guide it away from patterns that don't serve us and develop habits and ways of thinking and perspectives that are more evolved and bring about greater consequences in our life as a result of conscious action as opposed to going unconscious, like we were talking about last week. So the more conscious we are of how conscious we are, the more we're going to evolve greater conscious awareness. And greater conscious awareness equates to greater clarity and insight, happiness and peace. It's where we get the passion, the insight, the motivation, the drive to fulfill our purpose. We've got to be able to listen though. So the meditation is one of the tools. It's the compass. The compass needle points north. So when we look at our third eye, we get drawn into that field and aligned with the energy that gets us in tune with how we're being guided. And then the map is being able to sit back as if you took something, the map's representing the topography of our life, and you put that out in front of you, so there's some distance between you and the paper or the map, and you can see what's out there. In the same way, we're stepping back from our mind as if it was a map, because all the connecting points, like on the connecting points of a map, we have connecting points in our brain that are the neuro connections, the synaptic connections, the patterns that are formed in our mind that form kind of a mind map that shows us how we think. But most people are just running on autopilot. They let their mind run their life. And sometimes those old patterns may not serve us very well. So through analysis of thought, Swami just gives us some tools of being able to look at our mind from outside of our mind and decide, well, what patterns of thought serve me and which don't. And the ones that don't, I need to create new patterns to change the old ones. Just like if you had a recording that you don't want in your computer, or in the old days when we had magnetic cassette drives, or video, you can erase and re-record over. And the same thing in your mind, you can create new neural patterns. So as we sit here in the jacuzzi, I want you to breathe in, and first just observe the energy in your body. So I'm gonna go from mind back into feeling, and feeling back into mind, so we can integrate this higher awareness into your faculties and senses. Your mind may be engaged and be conscious at the same time. That would be a goal. So I want you to breathe in and feel the energy in your nervous system, feel it in your chi, feel it in the electromagnetic fields around your body, and now you may begin to feel it flowing between you and me, through eyes, through the sound of my voice. You can put up your hands. You can do whatever you want to do that helps you, but I just want to reach out to you and plug in, just like you might plug into this webinar, or you might plug into a teleconference, or you might plug into Enlightenment Radio, or whatever means we can connect. What it does, like a Pavlovian response, the psychologist Pavlov showed how we are conditioned in a certain way. We can train our brain to think a certain way, or to train our body to perform or act a certain way. So let us train ourselves to tune into these higher states by getting tuned in together right here, right now. And then you can always go into a higher state. We'll go there together. Take a deep breath right now. And then roll your eyes up, sit back, and we're just sitting back in the jacuzzi of consciousness and just starting to feel that buzz, starting to feel that energy, starting to get a little high even. And this is a natural high, a healthy high, a God buzz. There's a euphoria, there's a samadhi, and the first stage is this bhava samadhi, where you get kind of like you're going into a trance before you get into nivakalpa samadhi or some of the higher states. You'll go through these sensations where you feel like you're floating, and that's why I like to use the analogy of a jacuzzi. I want to invite you to breathe in and feel the life force, feel the prana coming in through your nostrils and being drawn down the sides of your spine, coming together at Muladhara, at the root chakra. And then as you're breathing out, feel the energy moving up the spine, from Muladhara to Svadhisthana, Maniparam, Anahata, Vishwashuddha, the Ajna chakra, all the way to your crown. Breathing in and absorbing, filling your body with the light. Breathing out and feel it moving back up through the Sushumna Nadi. Feel your Kundalini rising up through the spine, all the way to the top of your head. And we can enjoy this process even as I engage you in a discussion now. So this is your warm-up. We can just kind of sit back and relax and enjoy the sensation as we contemplate and reflect on the nature of ourself and analyze our own thoughts. So sit back, gaze into your mind's eye, and I'd like to begin by reading the first chapter, or the first paragraph in chapter 4 of Yoga for a Modern Age by Yogiraj Vettatiri Maharishi. It says, the beauties of nature are not confined to any one place. We can find them everywhere. In the most crowded thoroughfares and in the loneliest deserts, in the heights of the ice-clad mountains and in the depths of the blue lagoons, in the lush vegetation and of unexplored jungles, and in the rugged symmetry of our own skyscraper cities, in the hypnotic drum beats of primordial tribes and the enchanting symphonies of modern orchestras. What is needed is only the willingness and the patience to look. The more you look, the more you find. He says, nature will overwhelm us by its endless parade of beauties. Its endless parade of beauties. And I think what he's describing, another way to look at it might be helpful, is recognizing this kingdom of heaven that lies within us. Or as it says in the Gospel of Thomas, Jesus tells his apostles, the kingdom of heaven is spread out before man, but he sees it not. It's spread out before man. It's right here on earth. The presence of God, there's a divine state, a heavenly state, a spiritual state that you become present to when this awakening of consciousness occurs from within you. Swamiji goes on to say, all the secrets of nature are locked up within us, and they can be discovered within our own minds. If only we dive deep within ourselves, nature will unveil the secrets without any restraint or reserve. The more we understand the wonders of the mind, the greater will be our happiness, our satisfaction, and our peace. And I can say from studying with him for so many years and teaching now for 30 years that this is absolutely true. So I want you to go into your mind, excuse me, and just observe that there's sound coming in your ear, that there are thoughts that are rolling through your mind. So your ears are like little microphones picking up the sound. Your eyes are like a video camcorder picking up photons, registering somewhat digitally in your own mental processor. The carbon-based chips we call neurons in our brain. And so as you're hearing me, you're laying down tracks of what I've said, and each sentence is being compared to the next, forming different thoughts. But there's a part of you observing that. Now, over the years, when you're born, when you're a little baby, you don't have a lot of self-identification. But from the very beginning, you start hearing sounds and visual imprints and touch and taste. And associations begin being made, likes and dislikes, attractive and repulsive forces. And what this is doing is pointing out a certain amount of character, influences from around you. So Swamiji would always say most of what molds us is the influences from other people and our environment. So we want to take a minute to think about, where did we get our thoughts? Where do our thoughts come from? Because some of our thoughts serve us very well and others may not serve us well. Or the corollary to a thought, a feeling. And all a thought is literally a certain series of neurons that are connected through their synaptic or chemical bond connections. And those bonds can be broken in new configurations. New patterns can form in your mind. So let's take a deep breath and begin this process of reformatting our brain, not to how I think it should be, but how you know innately from what your life experiences is teaching you. What modifications would you like to make to your way of thinking and feeling, your perspectives, your attitudes, and your beliefs? So this is part of the practice, is analyzing your thoughts and deciding, realizing you have a choice what you think, and choosing to think thoughts that bring the right results, and changing patterns that don't work for you. So take a deep breath and drink that in, as it were. And now let's look at, where do our imprints come from? Swamiji would have us, typically we would journal on this, and we teach similar things in our courses at Self-Awareness Institute, where you kind of map out your brain. And the whole idea is that most people go through their whole life and they don't really know themselves. They don't even know what's motivating their actions sometimes. Our subconscious might be dictating an underlying fear or a limiting belief that keeps us from succeeding in our work or feeling all the love we could feel in a relationship. So we need to be able to step back from our mind and become the witness, like we talked about in the last lecture, and begin to look at our mind as a computer and say, well, what programs is it running and where did we get these thoughts? So it helps us to look at where we're getting our thoughts so we can decide whether they really work for us anymore. Or maybe they worked at one time in our life but don't anymore. When you were a child, crying might have been a very useful and effective way of getting what you wanted before you could articulate with greater speech. But now you perhaps would not cry as often, knowing or having been expected of you now to have, being able to ask for what you want in a different way, or being able to express what you don't want without having to cry. Although some people don't get that, never go over those patterns either, you see. So there's an example of how we could go unconscious, some deeply ingrained imprint that might happen from our childhood. And so there'll be different kinds of feelings like unworthiness or sadness, grief in one area, and then fear might be in another, and all our anger imprints in another, and there may be some association because we often have more than one emotion related to each life experience. But what we want to do today is to go into our mind and first of all just see that they're just neurological configurations, kind of like having a knot in your hair. And what we want to do is go through and kind of comb out those knots by observing them and stroking and putting good energy to where there is bad energy. So 20 units of positive energy can neutralize 20 units of negative energy. So let's go into our own mind, take a deep breath, and think about, well, where did I get my ways of thinking? So if I want to create the mind that thinks, what would be the best way for my mind to think? If I'm going to create the best mind, what is the best mind? So we can look at archetypes too. You can look at the Bible or Jesus, or you can look at your parents. You can look at people, your gurus. Swamiji was a very good example of a human being. So, and that will give you some ideas of maybe how you want your own brain to think, because maybe it just didn't know any better until you stopped to think about it. One of the areas we want to do first is probably start with our genetic imprints or hereditary imprints in the genetic code. If all human beings are here to learn and grow and evolve, and we're being tested, and our life lessons are helping us to discover ourselves and to grow in consciousness, and hopefully evolve to a higher level of consciousness, then looking at your parents might be very useful in looking at how you're being tested. I mean, what in your mind, without judging your parents, what lessons were they having to learn? What were they being tested in? Was it money? Was it communicating? Was it love? Was it being able to share their feelings or express themselves? You know, what were the tests? What did they seem to keep getting tested in? Because chances are, if they were tested in those ways, you will be too. And sometimes you can be more objective looking at your family or another person, and you'll begin to see, well, I have some traits like my mother and some traits like my father, and I seem to be reacting or acting the same way. And then you can ask yourself, well, which ways work and which ways don't for me? Maybe this isn't the best way for me to respond. The fact that you've had that conditioning since you were 5 or 8 or whenever doesn't mean it can't change right now. But the first step is you have to see what it is that needs to change. So we're becoming conscious of both how conscious we are and what's making us go unconscious. So say your dad got angry a lot or your mother got angry. Well, do you get angry a lot? And if you do, what can you do to change that programming? So you might want to write it down, what you identify with, so that you can really understand and maybe have an accounting of how your brain functions. Some people have no idea how their brain functions. They're ignorant of how their own brain functions. You are now in a place where you can't afford to be ignorant anymore. You're reaching an advanced level of consciousness. So it's important that we really understand the brain and all its functionality and what areas we need to tweak or refine or improve upon. I mean, it's ultimately up to us to create our own happiness and peace. So look at your parents first in terms of their karma, because the same energy it brought the seed and egg together to formulate the zygote and the embryo and the fetus that became you, that same energetic composition kick-started your life. So look at the influences, even if you didn't know your parents. Most of you will, of course, but to the degree you do, what were they being tested in? What were their inclinations? What were their attributes? And again, not to judge them, but then look at yourself and say, well, what attributes of theirs did I take on? And you took on a lot of good too, so you want to be in gratitude and appreciation to your family. And just realize that every family's just doing the best it can. So we got to be careful we don't get too judgmental and stay objective. The other part of the process then is to look at your mother and father from the role of them being your parent. So in addition to whatever energies that may have been associated between your mother and your father and their relatives and their upbringing and how they were being tested, what they needed to learn, and how you were then modeling their behavior, watching how they communicated, acted, reacted. Also, there was an opinion about yourself developed by how your parents saw you, how they spoke to you, what they saw in you, what they criticized in you. So you really need to spend some time looking within your own mind and say, well, what beliefs do I have about myself? Do you have a self-critical view? Do you ever feel you're unworthy? Do you get angry or disappointed at yourself a lot based on some conditioning from your family? You see, that no matter what had happened to you in your past, that has nothing to do with now. And the fact that your brain has had a reaction to an event in your past doesn't mean it needs to keep reacting. To let it keep reacting would be foolish if it doesn't bring you pleasure. It's better to create a new circuit, a new way of thinking in your mind. You just certainly don't want to be thinking you're unworthy or not intelligent, because what you think, you tend to create. It becomes your reality. So next to any of this negative programming that you may identify, you want to create a new affirmation, a new perspective, a new vision. You want to be able to see it. You want to be able to hear it. So you say it, you speak it, you picture it in your mind's eye. You can taste it and feel it, the emotion of it. Engage all your senses and engage a passion into this new you, this enlightened you that doesn't have a pity party, that doesn't go into self-loathing or self-hate. And start saying, well, I would ask myself, well, how would Swamiji act or react in this situation? Or how would Jesus act? Or what would the Buddha do? We have many good examples on earth. So take a deep breath and go into your mind and just think of the years and years and years of this first genetic imprints. So if your family were all alcoholics, there's a good chance even in your body there's a tendency for alcoholism. So you need to maybe keep that in check. Not use alcohol or other substances. So there's your family. How did they talk to you? What were the pivotal moments of your life? In what ways are you disappointed in your mother and your father? And in what ways do you think your mother and father are disappointed with you? Well, you've got to get to a place in your life where you get beyond whatever you're thinking about any of those. You don't want to be owned by what other people think of you. You're not here to live up to the expectations of others, only to that of yourself, what you innately know within yourself. So in addition to your parents, another mirror for you are your children, if you have any. And you'll look at your children and you'll think, wow, look at how many ways they're like me. But you'll see things in yourself that maybe you didn't see until you started studying your children and their ways of acting and reacting, because they're molding a lot of their behavior on you and your spouse. And they may very well have some genetic imprints that have been passed down too. And it's probably worth spending some time looking at other key people in your life, your grandparents, your brother or sister. Where did you get your ideas about sex and your opinion about the opposite sex? And so we want to look at that. And have you been abused? Has there been some form of trust broken, some violation, some pain that you've had to endure based on what? Fill in the blank. And what have you associated with that? Was it a gender? Was it a culture? Was it a religion? A lot of times we kind of start to generalize too. We make associations that aren't necessarily rational. So this is where analyzing your thoughts can really pay off, is you can actually make shifts in consciousness. And old synaptic connections can break off and new connections can be made with the new insight that you're gaining from simply studying your own mind. So look at your family relationships. How are you influenced by an older brother or sister or cousin, aunt, uncle? What about your peer group when you're a teenager? We're very heavily influenced by our peers growing up during our teenage years, particularly what music we listen to. And then the other question is, how did the culture affect you? And what time and place in the world were you born and where did you grow up? So whether you're raised thinking like an American or a Palestinian or an Israeli Jew or a Buddhist in Tibet, these are all very, very different cultures with heavy, what are called societal norms that leave deep impressions that mold your way of thinking. What did your religion teach you growing up. I love God, I love the Bible, I love Jesus. But there's a lot of false information given to people. There is no physical hell, as an example. And some people believe that. They don't understand literary versus metaphorical descriptions. They don't understand historical context. We were told we're all innately sinful. That isn't true, and it isn't a true teaching even. It's not true in fact, and it's not a true teaching. So it's not that we haven't fallen from grace or sinned or made mistakes and need to do better and need to be shown the way. But if we grow up thinking we're innately sinful, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. What we need to be doing is bringing out the good in ourselves and each other. So analysis of thought helps us to go in and begin to break down the patterns by looking at where they came from, your religion, your media. Media is propaganda. You've got to be very careful what information you take in and accept. Questioning is good. The more we question, the more we learn, including questioning me. So I want to invite you to think about what you've been thinking about and where you got your thoughts and if they're true and if you want to keep thinking them. Some areas I would suggest you might journal about are, name 5 ways that you might ever feel you're unworthy or feel guilty or feel ashamed or bad about yourself, and just make a note. Where in your brain do these thoughts occur, if ever? And what are the who, what, when, where, whys, and hows behind it? So if you see it, if you see how you might get sucked into an old pattern and another situation comes up where you might have gotten sucked into it, but you know better now, you see it coming, you see, then you don't step into it. You find that you stop reacting to the patterns once you've identified the patterns. When do you feel sad or feel apathy or feel sorry for yourself or some kind of pity? You should identify these patterns. Well, I feel sorry for myself when. Describe it to yourself. Make sure you understand yourself. When do you feel fearful? What do you fear? We should look at, when does fear come up for me? And there's something about looking at fear right in the eyes. It loses its power over you, because fear is something you make up in your mind. It's created through our imagination. Anger, jealousy, hate. Part of the human condition to have these feelings come up. And emotions are there to teach us something. But we don't want to hold on to these kind of thought forms. We don't want to be conducting this kind of energy and putting it out into the world. So if we have an anger imprint, it's there for us to look at it. Like a pain in our body, it's pointing out where attention and love needs to go. So we need to look at our own self and say, well, where am I in discord? Where does my mind and body need love? So I invite you to breathe in and think about where these ideas are in your mind and give them love. And then finally, pride, the insecurities, the false sense of self, how you want to project something out to others so that you'll be accepted, how you need to be right. Wherever there's a lack of humility or patience or kindness, there's something aberrant in the mind. And all negative emotions and all negative thoughts are only serving as a reminder to get back in touch with ourselves, to come back to love and peace and joy. The love and peace and joy is always here, because Spirit is always here, because God is always expressing itself or Himself through us. So take a deep breath and let's connect with that right here and right now. Just breathe in. And once again, connect with the life force energy in your body. Imagine your nervous system lit up and the energy flowing up and down your spine and out through all your extremities. Breathe in and just imagine these subtle currents moving through the meridians in your body. The chi flowing is yin and yang, going in, coming out, and back in again. Cycling up and down, in and out, and round, and to all the different layers and all the different textures and all the different levels of your body-mind instrument. Breathing in and feel the electromagnetic field and the current flowing up your spine. Feel your Kundalini. Picture there like a little plus sign on the top of your head and a minus sign at your tailbone, and just imagine your spine like a bar magnet, and there's this energy coming out of the top of your head, wrapping around in what's known as the toroidal field. And so there's this torus energy, it's called, like a donut. This energy then just comes up through the tailbone and up the center of the spine, out through the top of the head again, up and down and around. So we're going to be connecting with this energy. A similar toroidal field is moving around the Earth. It's coming up from the South Pole to the North Pole, enveloping the Earth and infusing the atmosphere with this electromagnetism that we breathe in. And then it becomes our biomagnetism. It becomes the principal energy which we operate off of. So we have this electromagnetism in your body. I want you to breathe in. So feel it in your nervous system. Feel it in your chi. Feel it in the electromagnetic fields within your body. And now feel it flowing between you and me. So I can send it to you through your eyes, from eye to eye, as we're doing now. We can send it through the voice, but you're used to feeling things through your hands. So what I've learned from teaching classes over the teleconference or webinars is, since many of you are in other countries, you find it easier to tune in if you just put your hands up and use your hand like an antenna, and think of it like a satellite dish. And there's simply an invisible force that is going to move into your body now that you're going to tune into. And then as I adjust the focus, like turning the knob, you're going to start feeling and entering into higher states. So breathe in and absorb this feeling. Just feel the love. That's really all it is. It's me feeling this incredible bliss, like Swamiji showed me, and now I just want to show you. I want to help you tune into it so you can acclimate and get used to being in higher and higher states. So breathe in and absorb the feeling. Feel the love. I'm reaching out to you in spirit, as spirit. And as you absorb this energy in, you might just imagine your heart expanding and the light glowing from within you. And as you breathe out, feel that light spreading out. So your glowing is growing, and that light is spreading out all around you. And just imagine your entire body enshrouded in a cocoon of golden white light, breathing in. And now I'd like to invite you, if you haven't already, to close your eyes and roll your eyes up and just gaze at the point between the eyebrows. And put just your right hand up for a minute. This will be a great reinforcement for you, because now your right hand should be tingling, especially if you feel up at the tops of your middle finger and your index finger and ring finger, but particularly the middle finger. Just feel the energy buzzing, and then bring that same hand over and just gently touch the point between the eyebrows. Just feel around to between your eyebrows and just tap there a few times. Keep your finger pressing on the Ajna chakra point, so the electromagnetism that you picked up in your hand is now transferring into your third eye. So this is a form of diksha. We'll do one on the crown later. Bring your hand down. Just know you are protected and guided by the divine in all your activities, day and night, in all places. And breathe in. Affix your attention at the point between the eyebrows. The eyes roll up. If you find your eyes flutter, twitch, or get sore, just drop your gaze slightly and maintain your focus on the sensation between the eyebrows. So this serves as your homing beacon. So we've flicked the light switch on. We've flicked the Kundalini on. We've got a current flowing, and as you focus on this feeling between the eyebrows, that feeling's going to get stronger and stronger, and it's going to take you. So here's the key. Rather than trying to meditate, you allow yourself to be meditated, and you allow me to help you. It's going to be much easier, much more fun. You're going to go much faster if we connect psychically. So salutations to your mother, your father, your gurus, your teachers. Think of God. And as you breathe in, let us just open our hearts and say, I am open to receive. I am open to receive. And as you breathe out, just let go of all your effort. Let your shoulders drop. Let your neck relax, let your head roll back, let your eyes roll up, and you just gaze into the dark scene of your mind, into that point, a point of singularity. And sometimes you'll see lights, colors. You might see a blue light or a white light. You might see my face or Swamiji's face or another face. You might see images. You might feel like you've left your body. And these are all good things. There's nothing to worry about. There's nothing that's going to harm you. These are all just signs that you're going into more subtle states. And so your mind is creating colors and actions and stories to try and explain what it's experiencing. Breathing in. Re-galvanize your focus at the point between the eyebrows. Like looking through a telescope and having to adjust the focus so the image comes in clear. Adjust your focus on the feeling between your eyebrows and let that feeling be your guide. And anytime you're distracted, just go back to the feeling. Hear the sound of my voice from that point between your eyebrows. And to enhance this sensation, I'm going to ring a bell, a Tibetan bell given to me by Swamiji, so I could give the initiations and use this bell. And I want you to listen to the sound of the bell from the point between the eyebrows. So just feel the vibration at your third eye point. Isn't that beautiful? Feel the vibration from your Ajna chakra. One more time. Just dissolve into the feeling. Observe the feeling. Observe the feeling within you and around you. Observe the part of you observing the feeling. Observe the observer observing. So turn your awareness around 180 degrees and behold that which is observing the observing. Step out of the mind and observe your mind. Observe thoughts being thought. And observe and ask yourself, well, what am I thinking? And then observe what part of me is aware of what I'm thinking. What part of me can discriminate as to what I've been thinking about? What images, what perspectives, what attitudes? We can look at the composition of mental activity and have a sense of it. There's a consciousness, a witness, an observer. And it's good that your mind get to know it. Let your mind behold that which you are. You see? So by observing your thoughts, you become more self-aware. develops your mind, enables you to be more conscious, connects you with the divine will, so you're acting in a line with your purpose and finding fulfillment from doing so. Everything else is your mind getting in the way. So if you don't take control of your mind will run your life. So just like they say in the East, the mind is a useful servant, but a bad master. We need to be speaking to our mind and directing our mind so that it doesn't run away with us. So I want you to picture in your mind's eye, picture yourself learning and growing and evolving, becoming more conscious, being able to observe your mind and your mental and emotional programming, and begin to recognize patterns that are unwanted, and perhaps develop ones that are wanted. There's other things you'll see that are great assets that you can develop. There are thoughts, questions that will come to light as a result of your introspection and your understanding in your own mind. And you'll begin to see patterns that have been getting in your way. Perhaps things have been holding you back from making that next step, or enjoying more in a relationship, or being more financially successful even. So a critical part of our simplified Kundalini yoga is really jnana or Vedanta. It's understanding the true nature of ourself and looking at our patterns, looking at our mind. So I want you to look at your mind, and first of all, let's give love to our brain. I mean, our poor brain, it thinks so much. It goes through so much. And just feel a sense of love. Let's fill our brain with a sense of love and know that it's loved. And think about all that we have to love and do love and the people we love. I want you to think of love. I want you to think of joy and love and peace. And let that feeling cycle within you. So for at least 2 minutes, we can kind of soak in a feeling of being loved. And just know, I love you. And on behalf of the Self-Awareness Institute, just know that there are thousands of us all over the world that are here to share love unconditionally. And we're not perfect at it, but each day we are committed to the evolution of consciousness within ourselves and others, and to share more love and peace and joy. So just know you're a part of the family, even if we've never met, that there are others out there, and that we want to help you, and we invite you in to our family. So breathe in and just know you're loved. And I want you to feel nurtured and loved and supported. And those are the kind of thought imprints we want to make sure we've downloaded into our brain. And that your intelligence is developing, you're gaining more insight, you're feeling more love, more peace, more joy. Picture this in your mind's eye. Picture yourself smiling. Picture yourself walking through your day and driving on the freeway with a sense of peace and joy and love just filling you, exuding out of your brain. What you're thinking, more loving thoughts. What you're feeling, more loving feelings. More kind and loving words are coming out of your mouth. People feel your compassion, whether it's in person or over the phone. That you're sending love out through your actions too, the things you do. You're desiring to bring more value into people's lives, to make a contribution, to make a difference. And that can be felt. That's a state of consciousness of you wanting to serve others, helping others. And that's drawing you to the right people and places and situations. And opportunities are opening up. And resources are being made available. And you're being supported in doing something that you love and that's making a difference and helping other people. So I want you to see all these things in your mind so your mind knows what tape to play, what energy to put out into the universe, so that you can attract these situations and fulfill them. So you're learning, growing, and evolving. You're enlightening. Each day you're finding more light, more love, more peace. Each day you're letting go of more fear, more resistance. Each day there's more light, there's more peace. Each day there's more opportunity. You're connecting more. You're becoming more connected. You're meditating every day. You're practicing these tools. You're watching all the webinars, maybe taking some of the classes, going on a retreat. What are you doing? Fill your life with those things that are going to make a difference in your life and actually live it. The kingdom of heaven is spread out before us, but man sees it not. But we've come to an age. We live in the age of Aquarius. We live in an age where there's an awakening occurring within the collective consciousness of humanity. And you play a part. You're at the leading edge. You're at the forefront of the movement. You've got more tools and training than most people on earth where we've connected with today even. Most people never connect. And now as you're evolving yourself, you're now in the position to be the light in your neighborhood, to bring this light out into your pool of friends, your associations, your connections on the internet and phone, to bring this light in so it may be expressed. So picture this. Let's send this light out to all the people in your family, loving your and blessing your children, your spouse, your parents, and other family members and friends. May you be protected and guided by the divine in all your activities, day and night, in all places. And may the whole world live in happiness and peace. So let's see this light moving out from us and into the world around us through everything we think and say and do. So just picture this in the mind's eye, that not your intellect is developing, your awareness is growing, your heart is opening, there's more compassion, there's more peace, there's more excitement, there's more creativity, there's more love. You're connecting with more people and in a deeper and more meaningful way. And these relationships are being mutually supportive, and it's guiding you to the people, places, and situations that are bringing about the highest and best good, and it's bringing light into every situation, everywhere, all the time. So this light that you are is being expressed through all that you're thinking. Picture that in your mind. You're just not interested in playing any more anger or fear or worry. There's love and joy and peace. This is your attitude. This is your state of mind. This is the mantra. This is what's emanating from your field. This is what's being generated by you and disseminated out to the world around you. Love and joy and peace. Harmony. Prosperity too. So you're thinking it, and you're feeling it, and you're speaking it, and you're living it. And now this light of higher consciousness is being shared with everyone you see, everywhere you go, all the time, every day. More love and joy and peace. You're embodying it. You are it. You are the light. You are the truth. You are love divine. This body is but a dream of thine. So go ahead, take one more deep breath. Rub your palms together. Palm your eyes. Put your hands over your eyes. Inhale. And as you exhale, you can bring your hands down over your face. Come back. Inhaling. Maybe bring your hands up over your head. Stretch. Take a deep breath. Exhale. Bring your hands down. And see if you can keep that connection and bring it back with you into your awakened state. And remember, if you need to sleep, or if your energy feels a little too high, you want to ground, just rub your tailbone and make sure you can practice the shanti, the peace. Bring the energy down to your tailbone. Will keep it from being so excited up in your head. It's a way of grounding. So again, I'm Stephen Sadler, director of the Self-Awareness Institute at selfawareness.com, host of Enlightenment Radio on the internet, and giving you a series of lectures of Vettatri Maharishi, Simplified Kundalini Yoga. Look forward to sharing with you. Next class will be number 5, Eradication of Worries. Jai Guru.